Your seat's taken, my mom said, then gave my $10,000 Switzerland ticket to my sister. So I canceled everything, stopped paying their rent, and cut them off, and now they are begging. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Alright guys, this is going to be a long one, but I promise it's worth it. Still processing what happened and figured maybe writing it all out would help me make sense of this train wreck. So I, 27 male, work in construction project management. Been married to my wife Lorelai, 26 female, for 3 years now. She's honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. We're that couple that actually likes hanging out together, which apparently is rare these days, according to all my divorced buddies. This whole shitstorm started because I wanted to do something nice for my mom Samantha, 51 female. She's been going through some serious health stuff lately. Nothing life-threatening, thank God, but it's one of those autoimmune things that just drains all your energy. Like she'll be fine one day, then spend the next 3 days barely able to get out of bed. Doctor says it's manageable, but there's no real cure. Just gotta learn to live with it. Anyway, my whole life she's been obsessed with Switzerland. I'm talking completely obsessed. She's got pictures of the Alps saved on her phone, watches those travel documentaries about Swiss villages like 3 times a week. So last year when I got promoted to senior project manager, first thing I thought was, I'm finally gonna make this happen for her. Not some budget backpacking bullshit either. I'm talking the full luxury experience. Business class flights, 5-star hotel in Interlaken with those insane mountain views, private tour guide, fancy restaurants, the whole 9 yards. Here's where it gets expensive though. Business class flights for 3 people to Zurich? Like 4 grand right there. The hotel I picked was running about $800 a night for 2 rooms. One for my parents, one for me. Private tours, nice dinners, train tickets for the scenic routes. By the time I added everything up, I was looking at close to $10,000 total. That's real money for me. I make good cash, but I'm not rich or anything. This was basically my entire bonus from the promotion, plus some savings I'd been building up. Lorelai and I had talked about using that money for a down payment on a bigger place, but she was totally supportive when I told her what I wanted to do. Your mom deserves this, she said, especially with everything she's been dealing with lately. That's why I married this woman, by the way. She gets family stuff even when it costs us money. So I spent weeks booking everything. Had to coordinate time zones for international reservations, make sure all the hotels could accommodate mom's dietary restrictions because of her meds. The whole time I'm doing this, I'm getting more excited than they were going to be. I kept the whole thing secret for months. Would drop little hints when I was over there like, man, wouldn't it be cool to see the Alps someday? Just to watch mom's face light up. But here's the thing, I've got a sister, Dina, 26 female, and she's basically been the golden child her whole life. Everything always revolves around Dina and whatever crisis she's dealing with that week. 6 months ago, she moved back in with my parents because she got divorced. Her marriage lasted like 2 years before she decided she needed to find herself, or some crap like that. Classic Dina move. Things get difficult, so she bails and expects everyone else to clean up the mess. Don't get me wrong, divorce sucks, and I felt bad for her at first. But Dina's never been the type to handle adversity well. Growing up, if something went wrong, it was always someone else's fault. Now she's living in their basement like she's 16 again. Doesn't work? Sleeps until noon? Orders DoorDash with money she doesn't have. So the big reveal happened on a Tuesday night about 3 weeks before our departure date. Took them out to dinner. Lorelai came with me for moral support. Plus, she was genuinely excited to see their reaction. We all ordered, did the usual small talk about work and the weather. Then I pulled out the folder. So I've got something for you guys, I said, sliding it across the table to Mom. She opened it up and her face just went blank for a second, like her brain couldn't process what she was looking at. Then she started reading the flight confirmation out loud. Zurich, business class, March 15th. Her voice got quieter with each word until she just stopped talking completely. Dad leaned over to look and his eyebrows shot up. Son, what is this? It's your trip to Switzerland. All 3 of us. Everything's paid for and booked. That's when Mom lost it. Started crying. Didn't even care that people were staring. Happy tears, though. The kind that make you feel like you actually did something right for once. She kept flipping through all the papers, looking at the hotel photos, reading about the mountain tours. I can't believe this is real, she kept saying. This is really happening? Dad was trying to play it cool, but I could tell he was choked up too. This is This is really something, Adam. How much did all this cost? I waved him off. Don't worry about it. You guys deserve this. For about 20 minutes, it was perfect. Dad was asking questions about the flight times and luggage restrictions. Even Lorelai was getting emotional watching how happy they were. This was exactly what I'd pictured when I started planning the whole thing. Then Mom got that look on her face. You know, the one when someone's about to ask for something they know you're not going to want to hear. This is so wonderful, sweetheart. The only thing is, my stomach dropped. There's always a catch with my family. Always. What's up, Mom? She glanced at Dad, then back at me. Well, Dina's been having such a difficult time lately with the divorce and everything. Do you think, would it be possible to maybe get her a ticket too? I tried to keep my expression neutral, but inside I was screaming. Mom, this trip is for you and Dad. A chance for us to spend time together and celebrate you feeling better. I know, honey, but she's family, and she's been so depressed since she moved back home. Dad jumped in. Son, it would mean a lot to your mother if Dina could join us. Family trips are always better when everyone's included. Here's the thing that really pissed me off. They weren't asking if I could afford another ticket. They weren't offering to help pay for it. They just assumed I'd be cool with dropping another $3,000 to include someone who's never been anything but a nightmare on family vacations. Plus, there was the practical stuff. The hotel room I'd booked was set up for 3 people. 2 beds, one for my parents, and one for me. Adding Dina would mean getting a second room, which was going to run another $800 a night. The tours were booked for 3 people. The restaurant reservations were for 3 people. Everything would have to be changed. Look, I said, trying to be diplomatic, this trip is already pretty expensive. Maybe we can plan something separate for Dina later, but this one is meant to be for you guys. Mom's face just fell, like I'd told her the trip was canceled or something. Oh, okay, I understand. But she clearly didn't understand. The whole mood at the table shifted. Dad kept trying to change the subject, but you could feel this weird tension hanging over everything. Mom was still looking at the papers, but not with the same excitement as before. The drive home was awkward as hell. Lorelai tried to make conversation, but Mom was giving these short, polite answers instead of the enthusiastic chatter from before. When we dropped them off, the goodbye felt forced. Thanks again for this, sweetie, Mom said, but her voice sounded flat. It's very generous. Generous. Not exciting or amazing or the trip of a lifetime. Generous. Like I was doing them some kind of favor instead of trying to give them an incredible experience. Back at our place, Lorelai and I had a long talk about it. You did the right thing, she said. You planned this for your parents, not for Dina. Over the next few days, things got weirder. Mom would text me about random stuff but wouldn't mention the trip at all. Dad called to ask about work, but completely avoided talking about Switzerland. It was like they were punishing me for not giving in to their request. A week later, Dad showed up at my house unannounced. Said he was in the neighborhood and wanted to chat, but I could tell he was on a mission. Your mother's been pretty upset about Dina not being included, he said, after we sat down in my living room. Dad, I can't afford to add another person to this trip. Do you know how much I've already spent? I'm not asking you to pay for her ticket, but maybe we could work something out. Dina's got a little money saved up from the divorce settlement. This was news to me. Far as I knew, Dina was broke. But apparently she had some cash stashed away and suddenly everyone expected me to reorganize my entire carefully planned trip to accommodate her. It's not just about the money, I explained. Everything's booked for 3 people. I'd have to cancel and rebook everything. We went back and forth for like an hour, him trying to guilt me into changing my plans, me explaining why it wasn't practical or fair. Finally, he left, but I could tell he wasn't happy about it. That conversation with my dad should have warned me that they weren't going to just accept my decision and move on. But I was still thinking like a normal person who respects other people's boundaries and planning efforts. Big mistake. So departure day finally comes around. I'm up at like 5:30 a.m. even though our flight isn't until 1 p.m., but I couldn't sleep anyway. Been looking forward to this for months and I'm practically vibrating with excitement. The plan was to pick them up around 10 a.m. We wanted to be at the airport by 11 to get through security with plenty of time. International flights and all that. I'd mapped out the route the night before, even though I know how to get to the airport with my eyes closed. Just wanted everything to be perfect. Around 9:45, I grab my stuff, kiss Lorelai goodbye, and head over to their house. It's like a 15-minute drive, and I'm listening to some upbeat playlist, thinking about how this is going to be the best week of my life. Quality time with my parents. Amazing scenery. Good food. No work stress. Everything I'd been working toward for months. I pull into their driveway and immediately something feels off. There's more luggage by the front door than there should be. Like way more. I'd specifically told them to pack light because we'd be doing some walking and moving around a lot. But there's this big pink suitcase sitting there that I'd never seen before. Actually, wait. I had seen it before. It was Dina's. The obnoxious hot pink one she got for her honeymoon that she always brags about being designer, even though she bought it at TJ Maxx. My brain starts trying to rationalize it. Maybe she's just helping them carry stuff out. Maybe she's storing something for them. Maybe it's not even hers and mom just happens to have an identical pink suitcase that I've somehow never noticed. But deep down, I already knew what was happening. You know that feeling when your stomach just drops and you realize you're about to get screwed over? That's what hit me sitting in their driveway looking at that stupid pink suitcase. The front door opens and out comes my whole family. Mom, Dad, and Dina. All of them dressed like they're going somewhere. All of them carrying luggage. Dina's got this massive grin on her face, like she just won the lottery. "Morning, honey," Mom calls out, all chipper and fake cheerful. "Ready for our big adventure?" I'm still sitting in my car trying to process what I'm seeing. Dina is standing there with a carry-on bag and that pink suitcase, wearing new hiking boots that still have the tags on them. She's even got one of those stupid neck pillows for the plane. I get out of the car and try to keep my voice normal. "What's going on?" Mom walks over like she's about to deliver the best news ever. "Oh, sweetie, we have a little change of plans. We decided Dina should come with us instead of you. Instead of me." Let that sink in for a second. Instead of me. The person who planned the trip. The person who paid for the trip. The person whose name is on every single reservation. What do you mean instead of me? I'm trying really hard not to lose my shit right there in the driveway. Dad steps up like he's gonna handle this delicate situation. "Son, your sister really needs this trip right now. She's been through hell with the divorce and everything. We thought it would be better if she came with us." Better for who? Better how? I'm standing there trying to understand the logic of replacing the person who organized and funded the entire vacation with someone who contributes absolutely nothing. Dina decides to chime in with her justification. "Adam, you travel for work all the time anyway. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me." Which is not true, by the way. I travel maybe 4 times a year for job sites, staying in garbage motels near construction zones and working 14-hour days. Not exactly the same as a luxury vacation in the Swiss Alps. "Mom," I say, looking directly at her, "I planned this trip for you. I paid for everything. The tickets are in my name." Well, that's the thing, honey. She's got this tone like she's explaining something obvious to a slow child. I called the airline yesterday and talked to them about the situation. Since we're still a few weeks out from departure, they let me change your ticket to Dina's name. It's one of those free name change policies they have. My brain just completely short-circuits for a moment. She called the airline. She actually called the airline and changed my ticket to Dina's name. Without asking me. Without even telling me until right now. Like I'm not even a person whose opinion matters. "You did what?" "Now don't get upset," Dad says in that patronizing voice he uses when he knows he's done something shitty. "This is still your gift to the family. You should be happy that you're making it possible for your sister to have this experience when she needs it most." My gift to the family. $10,000. Months of planning. My vacation time from work. All of it now being reframed as a gift to Dina because she's sad about her divorce. Dina's standing there trying to look all innocent and grateful, but I can see that little smirk she gets when she's getting away with something. Same exact expression she had when we were kids, and she'd break something then convince our parents it was my fault. "So what am I supposed to do?" I ask. "Just stand here and wave goodbye?" Mom reaches over and pats my arm like she's comforting a disappointed child. "Well, you could drive us to the airport, and maybe start planning your own trip for later this year. Drive them to the airport." She wants me to be their personal chauffeur to the vacation they just stole from me. And then plan my own trip later with what money exactly? The money I'll be spending the next year paying off the credit card I used for this trip? The worst part is how casual they're being about the whole thing. Like they've decided what to have for lunch, not completely screwed over their son and brother. No acknowledgement of how messed up this is. No apology. No recognition that maybe, just maybe, this might upset me a little bit. Dad's checking his watch. "We should probably get going. Don't want to hit traffic and miss the flight." And that's when it hits me. They think I'm just going to go along with this. They actually believe I'm going to smile and nod and drive them to my vacation like some kind of doormat. They've got me so well trained to just accept whatever they decide that they can't even imagine me saying no. But here's the thing about being pushed too far. Eventually you push back. I look at all three of them standing there with their luggage, expecting me to just roll over and play chauffeur to my own stolen vacation. "No," I say. Mom blinks like she didn't hear me right. "What?" I said no. "I'm not driving you to the airport." Dad's face starts turning red. "Son, don't be ridiculous. How are we supposed to get there? I shrug. I don't know. Call an Uber, take a taxi, figure it out. Adam, stop being such a baby, Dina snaps. Just drive us. And that's when I realize I'm done. Done being the reliable one. Done being the backup plan. Done being treated like my feelings don't matter. Done being their personal ATM who's supposed to be grateful for the privilege of funding their happiness. I start walking back toward my car. Have fun figuring out transportation to your stolen vacation. Adam! Mom yells after me. You can't just leave us here. Then I get in my car and drive away, leaving them standing in the driveway with all their luggage and no way to get to the airport. For the first time in my adult life, I chose myself over their expectations. And it felt incredible. When I got home, Lorelei was in the kitchen making breakfast. She took one look at my face and knew something was up. How did it go? She asked. Are you guys on your way to the airport? Nope, I said, and told her the whole story. Her jaw literally dropped, like cartoon-level jaw dropping. They did what? And then expected you to drive them? Yep, so I left them there to figure it out themselves. Good, she said without hesitation. They deserve that. But what are you going to do now? That's when it really hit me. Sure, I'd made a point by refusing to drive them, but they were probably scrambling to call relatives or order a rideshare. In a couple hours, they'd still be on a plane to Switzerland, using my tickets, staying in my hotel room, taking my vacation. I was sitting at the kitchen table just stewing about it when Lorelei sat down across from me. You know, she said carefully, those reservations are still in your name, right? I nodded. And you're the one who paid for everything? Another nod. So technically, you could... She didn't finish the sentence, but I knew exactly what she was thinking. The same thing that had been creeping into the back of my mind during the drive home. I pulled out my phone and opened the airline app. Just looked at it for a minute, not doing anything yet. My finger was hovering over the screen while I thought about what I was considering. Are you really going to do it? Lorelei asked. They made their choice, I said. Now they get to live with mine. I found our reservation. 3 tickets to Zurich, all confirmed and ready to go. 1 click, and I could cancel the whole thing. But then I thought about it more strategically. Just canceling the flights would leave them stranded at the airport, but they could potentially book new tickets if they scrambled hard enough and threw money at the problem. Expensive as hell, but possible. The hotel, though? That was booked solid for the next 3 months. I'd gotten lucky to snag those rooms when someone else canceled. If I canceled now, they'd have no place to stay even if they managed to get flights. So I started with the hotel, canceled both rooms, the one for my parents and the one that was supposed to be mine, but apparently became Dina's. Got a confirmation email immediately saying the cancellation was processed and my deposit would be refunded. Then the tour bookings. Private mountain guide, canceled. Those fancy restaurant reservations that took me weeks to get, canceled. Every single thing I'd spent months coordinating, gone with a few clicks. Finally, the flights. I stared at that cancellation button for probably 30 seconds, thinking about whether I really wanted to do this. Then I remembered Mom's patronizing tone when she told me I should be happy to give this gift to Dina. Click. Canceled. My phone immediately started buzzing with confirmation emails. Your reservation has been canceled. Refund will be processed within 3 to 5 business days. Thank you for your business. I felt this weird mix of emotions. Part relief, part satisfaction, part terror at what I'd just done. But mostly I felt free. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. We sat there for maybe 20 minutes, just processing what had happened. Then my phone started going crazy. First text came in around 11:30. Honey, there seems to be a problem with our tickets. The airline says they're canceled. Can you call us? Then 5 minutes later, Adam, call us right now. There has to be some kind of mistake. I let them panic for about an hour while Lorelei and I made lunch and tried to act normal. But I kept checking my phone, watching the messages pile up. They were clearly at the airport by now, probably standing at some customer service desk, getting more confused and desperate by the minute. The messages got progressively more frantic. The hotel says our reservation is canceled too. What is happening? Adam, did you do anything? This isn't funny. An hour later, I decided to put them out of their misery. I texted back, yeah, I canceled everything. Should have thought about that before you stole my vacation. My phone exploded. I'm not exaggerating. I got like 40 messages in the next 15 minutes. Mom crying through text, Dad demanding I fix it immediately, Dina calling me every name in the book. The best one was from Dad. Get back here right now and rebook everything. This has gone far enough. I showed it to Lorelei and she just shook her head. Even now he thinks he can boss you around. Not anymore, I said and meant it. Around 4 p.m. I got a text from my cousin Jake. Dude, Your parents are calling everyone asking for money for last-minute flights. What happened? So they were trying to salvage the trip by hitting up relatives for cash. International flights booked same day? That's going to run them like $4,000 each minimum. Money they definitely didn't have, especially since they'd been counting on me to cover everything. I didn't respond to Jake either. Let them figure it out themselves. By evening, the messages had shifted from demanding I fix things to just pure anger. Dina sent me a particularly nasty one calling me a selfish piece of shit who ruined the family. Mom wrote this long guilt trip about how disappointed she was and how I'd changed into someone she didn't recognize. But you know what? I didn't feel guilty. For the first time in my adult life, I'd stood up for myself when my family tried to walk all over me. And instead of feeling bad about it, I felt proud. That night, lying in bed next to Lorelai, I realized something important. This wasn't really about the trip. This was about years of being treated like my feelings didn't matter, like I existed solely to solve their problems and fund their happiness. The Switzerland trip was just the final straw, and I'm glad it happened, because now I know exactly where I stand with them. So the next few days were pretty quiet on the family front. After that initial explosion of angry texts, they basically went radio silent. I figured they were probably licking their wounds and trying to figure out how to spin this whole thing to make me look like the bad guy. But then I remembered something that made me smile. Every month on the 15th, I have an automatic transfer set up that sends $700 to my dad's checking account. Has been running for like 18 months now, just quietly helping them cover their rent without making a big deal about it. It started when I noticed my dad acting weirdly tense over bills one day. He didn't say anything outright, but I caught him triple checking some payment app, rubbing his forehead like it owed him money. So I stepped in. The 15th was coming up in 2 days. I was sitting at work on Thursday morning when it hit me. Why the hell am I still financially supporting people who just screwed me over? That $700 a month was my choice, my generosity, my way of helping out family when they needed it. But apparently my generosity doesn't mean shit to them when they want something else. During my lunch break, I called the bank and canceled the automatic transfer. Moved that money into a separate savings account they couldn't touch. If they wanted to treat me like I didn't matter, they could figure out their own rent payments. When I got home that night, I told Lorelai what I'd done. She just nodded like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Good. They can't have it both ways. Treating you like garbage but still expecting your money. You don't think I'm being petty? Adam, you've been paying part of their rent for a year and a half. That's like 15 grand you've given them, no questions asked. And they repaid you by stealing your vacation. Petty would be keying Dina's car. This is just consequences. 3 days later, I was working late on a project timeline when my phone started buzzing. Dad was calling. I let it go to voicemail, but then he called again immediately. And again. Finally, I picked up. What? We need to talk. Are you home? Yeah, why? We're coming over. And he hung up. Just like that. No asking if it was a good time. No checking if we had plans. Just, we're coming over. Like I'm still some kid living in his house. About 20 minutes later, there's banging on my front door. Not knocking, banging. I look through the peephole and see all 3 of them standing there. Mom looks like she's been crying for days. Dad's got that red-faced angry look he gets when he's about to lose his temper. And Dina's standing there with her arms crossed like she's ready for war. About 20 minutes after everything settled, the knocking started, but it wasn't knocking. It was the kind of banging that comes with zero patience. I already knew who it was. I stood up slowly, walked to the door, and checked the peephole. All 3 of them. Mom looks like she's been crying for days. Dad's got that red-faced angry look he gets when he's about to lose his temper. And Dina's standing there with her arms crossed like she's ready for war. I open the door and Dad pushes right past me into the living room. My mom followed behind, clutching her bag like she was bracing for a storm. Dina walked in last, slower, more controlled, but still carrying herself like she was the one who'd been wronged. They didn't ask to come in. They never asked. Lorelai was sitting on the couch. She looked up but didn't move or say anything. She just watched them walk in like she was waiting to see how far they'd try to push it. We need to talk, my dad said, not even glancing in Lorelai's direction. He said it like it was a statement, not a request. I stayed standing. About what? My mom's voice cracked almost immediately. How could you do this to us? She said. We're your family. I didn't respond right away. I just watched them, watched the way they looked around my living room, like they still had some ownership over my life. It was surreal. You're right, I said finally. We are family. So maybe you can explain why you gave the trip I paid for to Dina without even talking to me. Mom didn't even hesitate. Because she needed it more, she said, like it was obvious. She's going through a divorce. That sentence. I'd heard it so many times now it barely registered, like it was supposed to explain everything. Like it made sense to take what I spent months putting together and hand it over because Dina had made yet another mess she didn't want to clean up. It was 6 months ago, I said, and I'm the one who paid for everything. Dina stepped forward. Same look on her face, tight-lipped, impatient. It was just a trip, Adam. I laughed under my breath. Just a trip. $10,000. Months of planning. Hours of overtime. I had to give up my own vacation time to make it work. But sure, just a trip. Dad stepped in like he was about to negotiate a merger. We can work this out, he said. Just rebook it. We'll all go next year. Together. It was such a clean, casual way to suggest I fix the very thing they broke. No apology, no ownership, just a simple plan to undo their own decision at my expense. That's when Lorelei stood up. She had stayed quiet the whole time, but I could tell from the look on her face that she'd had enough. You've got to be kidding me, she said, calm but firm. You think you can take what he planned, what he paid for, and come in here acting like he's the one who needs to make it right? Dina turned to her, instantly defensive. This doesn't involve you. Lorelei didn't flinch. I'm his wife. It involves me. You don't get to decide when I count. I didn't jump in. I didn't need to. Lorelei had that handled. She always did. They went back and forth for a while, Dina trying to justify it, Mom insisting it was about helping her daughter, Dad trying to position everything as a misunderstanding. It was the same pattern as always, them defending their choices, twisting the conversation to make it about me being too rigid, too ungrateful, too unforgiving. It wasn't about the trip. It never really was. It was about the fact that they expected me to just accept whatever they handed me, no matter how unfair it was. Then Dad's tone shifted. He stopped trying to mediate. There's another issue, he said. You stopped the rent payments. I nodded. Yeah, I did. You can't do that, he said. We've been counting on that money. And there it was. The real reason they came. They weren't here to apologize. They were here because I closed the tab they'd been running for over a year. $700 a month, every month. And now that it stopped, they suddenly remembered I existed. That money wasn't guaranteed, I said. I was helping because I wanted to. You made it pretty clear how little that meant to you. They tried everything. Logic, guilt, fake concern. Eventually, when it became clear I wasn't giving in, they started gathering their things. But just before he walked out, my dad turned around. If you don't make this right, he said, we'll be forced to take action. I didn't respond. I just stood there and waited for the door to close. 2 weeks later, I got served with papers. They were actually suing me for the trip costs and ongoing rent payments. The lawsuit claimed I had promised them the vacation and established a pattern of financial support that they were now depending on. When I called my buddy Mike, who's a lawyer, he read the whole thing and just started laughing. This is the stupidest lawsuit I've ever seen, he said. They don't have a case at all. But do you want me to represent you? This'll be fun. How much will it cost? For this piece of garbage? Nothing. I want to see their faces when the judge throws this out. Mike was right. The whole thing was ridiculous. But at least now I had a chance to present my side of the story to someone who couldn't be emotionally manipulated or guilt-tripped into taking their side. Game on. I had everything. Screenshots of every text message, including Mom literally admitting she called the airline to change my ticket to Dina's name without asking. Bank statements showing I paid for every single thing. Flights, hotel, tours, restaurants. Email confirmations proving all the bookings were in my name. Records of the monthly rent payments clearly showing they were voluntary gifts with no written agreement. The best evidence, though? I had photos from that morning when they ambushed me at their house. Timestamps showing exactly when they told me I wasn't going on the trip I paid for. Lorelei had actually taken a few pictures of us getting ready that morning, and you could see my suitcase in the background, proving I was obviously planning to go on this trip myself. Mike put together this beautiful defense package. This is going to be like shooting fish in a barrel, he said. Their lawyer should be embarrassed to file something this week. Court day finally arrives, and I'm honestly kind of excited. After months of dealing with their emotional manipulation and guilt trips, I finally get to present my case to someone who can't be swayed by family drama and crocodile tears. We get to the courthouse, and there they are. Mom, Dad, and Dina all dressed up like they're going to church, probably trying to look like the innocent victims getting screwed over by their mean son and brother. Their lawyer looks like he hasn't slept in weeks and keeps shuffling through papers like he's trying to find something that might actually help his case. The judge calls us up and their lawyer starts his presentation. Right away, you can tell this isn't going well for them. He's stumbling over basic facts, making claims he can't back up, basically just throwing stuff at the wall hoping something sticks. Your Honor, my clients had a reasonable expectation that this vacation would proceed as planned. Judge cuts him off immediately. Counselor, who paid for this vacation? Well, the defendant did, but... And whose name was on the reservations? It goes downhill from there. Their lawyer tries to argue that because I'd been helping with rent for over a year, I was somehow legally obligated to keep doing it forever. The judge looks at him like he's speaking a foreign language. When it's Mike's turn, he absolutely destroys them. Pulls out all my evidence, walks through the timeline of events, shows how they changed my ticket without permission, then expected me to drive them to the airport like nothing happened. The judge starts asking my family direct questions, and it gets brutal fast. Ma'am, he says to Mom, did you contribute any money to this vacation? She hesitated. Well, no, but my son wanted to do something nice for us. Did you discuss changing the travel arrangements with your son before calling the airline? We felt that his sister needed it more. The whole thing lasted maybe an hour. Judge didn't even need to think about it. Case dismissed, he says. And frankly, this is a waste of court resources. Mr. Thompson has no legal obligation to provide vacations or ongoing financial support to his family members. The fact that he chose to do so voluntarily out of generosity does not create any legal entitlement on their part. Then he looks directly at my parents. I suggest you focus on your own financial responsibilities instead of trying to sue your son for being too generous with his own money. Outside the courthouse, they tried one last guilt trip. Mom's crying, saying I've destroyed the family and she's ashamed of what I've become. Dad's yelling about how they raised me better than this. Dina calls me a vindictive jerk who's jealous of her. That was the last time I ever spoke to them. Lorelai and I used the refund money from their canceled vacation to take our own trip to Switzerland last month. Stayed in that same hotel I originally booked. Did all the tours I'd planned. It was absolutely incredible. Best part? Nobody tried to steal it from us.